This morning, we're gonna make our own spanakopita. I mean our own. We're even making the dough, the phyllo dough. You're gonna see how easy this is, and you're not gonna wanna buy that phyllo dough with the yucky shortening in it, that GMO stuff. You can just make it at home. It's really not that hard. Okay, so we have 8 cups of flour here. And then you want to put in a couple of teaspoons of white vinegar. It doesn't really matter what kind. I'm using rice vinegar because regular white vinegar is made from corn. So unless it's organic, it's GMO. And then I got some organic olive oil, a couple teaspoons of that. 1 1/3 cups of hot water. And we're going to put all this in a mixing bowl in our mixer. And we're gonna let that mix for we're gonna let that mix in the mixer for about 10 minutes so that it kneads it for you and you don't have to. Put our wet mixture in the flour. We're gonna let that mix up and we might have to scrape it down. I'll have to wait and see. So here's our dough. I put it in a bag and I'm gonna put it in the fridge for a few hours. You can do this in the morning and then when you get home, or I guess we're home anyway, you could make some spanakopita. We're gonna make them like little hors d'oeuvres, not the big plate of it, because it's really heavy. We're gonna make the little hors d'oeuvre kind. But first, we gotta chill this, and then we're gonna put it through the pasta machine and make really thin, beautiful sheets of phyllo.
And you can see I'm rolling these out one at a time. Here's what you don't wanna do. You don't wanna go 1, 3, 5, 7. Oh wait, they're done. No, you can't do it that way because if you do it that way, the dough's not gonna like it and it's gonna contract and not work right. You gotta do it one step at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now they're stretched out. Don't try to take any shortcuts with this. All right, so I've rolled out 6 of them so far. My parchment paper is kind of full here, see, out of room. So I floured both sides of these and I'm gonna put another layer of parchment paper on top and just keep right on rolling. Second layer is done. And there's still about 6 or 7 more of these to roll out. All right, so there you go. There are 25 of them all rolled out. There you go. Could not have done it without the KitchenAid stand-up mixer with the pasta attachment. By the way, if you don't have one of these, you can find a link for one right there on the front of our website at foodnationradio.com.
Okay, so Michael rolled out all of this dough for me, which was very sweet. And he rolled it to a 7, which is pretty thin. He said when he went to 8, it started to fall apart. We don't want that. So it's pretty thin. We're going to use our phyllo dough, and we're going to put about a teaspoon of this mixture in each little square. And it's actually kind of a long rectangle, I'll show you. And we're going to roll it up like a little football. And then we're going to brush the whole thing with the ghee, right, before we do that. And then after we do that. And we're going to put it on our pan with a silpat and bake it at 375 for about, 12 minutes or so. So I'm going to show you the first football, and then while this is baking, I will show you how to make the filling. So I brushed the rectangle with the ghee, which is a perfect way to do this because ghee is clarified butter and it's perfect with the phyllo dough. And I put about a heavy teaspoon of the filling on here. I know it has too much cheese in it for all the Greek people. I'm half Italian. I don't want to get letters. I know, I'm not going to make it like the Greeks do, okay? So I'm not even going to try. But anyway, I'll show you about the filling in a little bit. We're going to fold this first one and put it on the pan. Now you see what I did there? I folded it up. I went about halfway up this sheet because this dough is slightly thicker than regular phyllo and I don't want to make it too thick. So I'm going to cut it off there and I'm going to close it seal it with the butter and put butter on top. and then we'll put it on our soap pad. So here's what I've got so far. Don't they look pretty? And I've learned that if you cut the sheet before you start, cut it halfway, so it's about, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches, it makes it a lot easier. So these are a little wider for some reason. I don't know if he rolled it out. Maybe it came out thinner. I don't know. But I'm gonna put 2 heaping teaspoons on these pieces, and it's gonna make 4 to 6 of the footballs instead of 6 to 8. No big deal. I didn't really like the way those came out when they folded up, so I'm gonna try things a different way. I took the big sheets and I cut them in half long ways, and I'm gonna make smaller ones. It's maybe only about half to 3/4 of a teaspoon of filling, and we'll fold those up. Much better. I like that better, don't you? This is the great thing about doing this with you in real time. In other words, I'm not editing this out. I'm showing you exactly how I'm going through this and learning just like you are. Isn't that cool? So to make the filling, you take either a big, fresh container of spinach, the big one, the big rectangular one, and you blanch it for about a minute and squeeze all the water out of it and then chop it up. Or you take the frozen package, cook that, squeeze the water out of that, and chop it up. Either way is fine. And then 1 medium onion, buzzed and then sauteed in some ghee, translucent. 6 ounces of crumbled feta, and a 1/2 cup of cottage cheese, and a couple tablespoons of fresh dill. That's it. In your filling, you've got to taste it. If your ghee doesn't have any salt in it, if your cottage cheese doesn't have much salt in it, and your feta cheese is not as salty as normal feta cheese, you might want to add a 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon of that Himalayan pink salt. But taste it first and see where you're at with seasoning, so everything tastes good. So good. I will tell you about the phyllo that it's got to be a little thinner, I think. The thinner you can get it, the better. Still tastes good. I mean, if you have to do it at home, it's fine. And it doesn't have any of that shortening in it. But if you can get organic phyllo from the store, you might want to do that. But like I said, this is a really fun thing to do, especially with kids. And you can make the dough and do the whole deal and teach them about food, which is kind of what we're doing here. And you can get this recipe at youtube.com/EADoherty1. We'll have it on there for you.